The Son of Sam killer terrorized New York City for just over a year. After he was caught, he told the police that his neighbor's dog was actually possessed, and the dog was an ancient demon who told him to kill. So from July 1976 to July 1977, a series of shootings left 6 people dead and 7 wounded. As police conducted a manhunt across this terrorized city, the serial killer began leaving them taunting notes at his crime scenes. And in one, he called himself the Son of Sam. Hello and welcome back to Crime, Mystery and Mayhem with Kate. If this is your first visit to my channel, hello, welcome. It is great to have you here. Here on my channel, I talk about true crime stories because I find them interesting and I am quite intrigued as to why some people do the horrible things that they do. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel because I cannot do this without you guys. I need your guys' support to basically get my channel monetized because it hasn't been monetized yet. I'm over the 1,000 subscribers, but you have to get a certain amount of hours. So I think I'm only like 150 hours away from being monetized. So with your guys' support, I know I can get there. All right, so let's jump into today's story. On June the 1st, 1953, David Berkowitz was born Richard David Falco in Brooklyn, New York. His mum, she was Betty Broder, and she was Jewish and a waitress. So Betty's husband, Tony Falco, had left her for another woman around a decade before David was even born. And even though he obviously wasn't the father, Betty named her son after him. Instead, David's actual dad was a married businessman called Joseph Kleinman, and they had been having an affair for about 3 years. So Joseph, he wasn't very happy about fathering David, and it's rumored that he told Betty to put him up for adoption. So apparently he said that if she didn't put him up for adoption, then the affair would have to stop. So Betty put her son up for adoption. Yeah. David was soon adopted, luckily, by Nathan and Pearl Berkowitz, who were a working class Jewish couple living in the Bronx, and they changed his name. So they changed his name to David Richard Berkowitz. So Nathan worked 6 days a week at the family's hardware store, while Pearl spent her days at home with their son. When David got a bit older, they decided to tell him that he was adopted and that his birth mum had actually died giving birth to him. So I'm thinking now that probably wasn't a wise move because David lashed out and he started causing trouble for everyone around him. He was feeling angry and he was upset. He felt like his whole life was a lie. He also started acting out at school, and his teachers would describe him as a bright boy, but he had behavioral issues, and that his behavioral issues got in the way of his education. So he was smart, but yeah, he was naughty. David didn't have many friends, and the ones that he did have, they were kind of considered the school's outcasts. So David and his friends, because of that, they were bullied. So they were the kids that got bullied. I'm pretty sure people call them like the nerds or the geeks or whatever. But yeah, so kids, they can be cruel, and they would actually call David fat little Jew boy. Yeah, kids are mean. So by middle school, his bad behavior had actually become criminal. He started committing petty theft and he was setting fires around New York. His parents were so worried about their son and they took him to see a therapist. They hoped that maybe the therapist could find out what was wrong with their child, but he never received a diagnosis to explain his behavior. He didn't receive any legal consequences either for his bad behavior, you know, the fires and whatnot. He just got away with the crimes. So, not really good. Also, David was cruel to animals. I know, I hate it when, why do people hurt animals? I hate it when people hurt animals. But there are actually quite a few serial killers who did start off with hurting or killing animals when they were younger. David's parents actually believed that he killed his mum's parakeet, whose name was Pudgy, Apparently he used cleaning products to poison it over time. And it said that he was jealous of this bird because apparently his mum really loved the bird and the bird loved his mum, and David saw this bird as a rival for his mum's attention, which is crazy, but David Berkowitz. He would also kill hundreds of bugs in horrendous ways. Like, I know people kill bugs, but he would like burn them alive or glue them down to rubber cement and like leave them to suffer. Like, I get it, people kill bugs. Like, you see a spider, it's like smash it, but people don't love doing it, right? You don't like get all excited about killing a bug. Anyway, in 1967, when David was 14, he experienced his first significant loss. His mum died. She had breast cancer, and her death, it really, really destroyed David. He adored his mum, so this affected him really bad. He actually said in an interview later on that his mum's death was the reason he is no longer capable of love. This relationship, it was described to be much more intense than that of a typical mother-son bond, but nothing more was really ever said to confirm or deny that their relationship was weird. Yeah, it was just mentioned. So some believe that David harbored great anger towards his mum as an adult because he felt like she was hiding the truth about his birth mum, like saying that his birth mum died when she didn't. She actually abandoned him, but maybe his adopted mum didn't want him to feel sad. Yeah. So the anger is believed because all but one of his female victims had long, dark, wavy hair, just like his adopted mum. Then when David was 17, he enlisted into the US Army, and he passed both physical and psychological exams with flying colors. So he was also deployed to South Korea. While he was in Korea, he experimented with psychedelic drugs, mostly LSD, and after his experiments, his friends began noticing drastic changes in his personality. So he began to write half-coherent letters proclaiming a newfound support of pacifism and the Black Panther Party. In one of his letters, he signed Master of Reality after crossing out his name. Then he returned home and served the rest of his service at Fort Knox. Then he was honorably discharged in 1974. So during his time in Kentucky, David found Christianity, converting almost overnight from his lifelong religion, which was Judaism. With the conversion of religion, David began having extreme ideas about sexual purity that he would go on to claim was the motive behind the killings. Okay. In 1974, he managed to track down his biological mother, Betty, learning the truth about her being alive sometime after Pearl had passed away. They met a few times, and David was really hoping that he could maybe get some answers from her. Like, why did she give him up? But instead, he found out that he had a half-sister that his mother actually kept. So that made him feel like shit. He was feeling unwanted, he was feeling abandoned. This woman was not making him feel very good about himself. So a forensic anthropologist later described this moment as the primary crisis. Yeah. David, he never met his actual dad, his biological father, because he died before he got the chance to track him down. David at this time was feeling worthless and defeated. He had no job, no girlfriend, and no real prospects for his future. And he just found out that his mum, she's pretty crap. He had also driven away most, if not all, of his social group. So he doesn't really have any friends. His drastic personality change while in Korea pushed away his friends. And after learning everything surrounding his adoption, he pushed away his surviving parents. So he had nobody. He attempted to return to school by enlisting at the Bronx Community College, but he dropped out after a year. Throughout 1976, he started to work, and he worked for the United States Postal Service. So on the 24th of December 1975, David claims to have committed his first attack. It was late at night. He packed a hunting knife and he headed into the Bronx. He claimed that he had attacked a young Hispanic woman from behind with a knife, but this woman has never been identified. There aren't any hospital records or dead bodies found that match the description that David gave, and no reports were ever made to the police about an attack, and it's believed that if this woman does exist, she survived the attack and she just didn't report it for whatever reason. Then later that same night, David attacked a 15-year-old girl called Michelle Foreman. But little is actually known about the attack other than he attacked Michelle from behind with the same hunting knife. Luckily, she survived. Apparently, because these two survived, David decided to start using a handgun. Yeah, because it's more likely to kill someone, right? Then on the 29th of July, 1976, in the Pelham Bay neighborhood at around 1 a.m., 18-year-old Donna Lauria and her friend 19-year-old Jody Valenti were sitting in Jody's car. So Donna was about to get out of the car. So they're sitting in the car, she's about to get out, and a man rocks up with a brown paper bag. The girls, they just got so much of a fright. Then the man pulls out a gun from this brown paper bag, and he crouches beside the open passenger door, and he fired 3 times at these terrified girls. Donna was hit by 1 bullet and she was killed instantly. Jody was shot in the thigh, and luckily she survived. The 3rd bullet missed both of the women entirely. So without confirming the damage that he had caused, the shooter turned and quickly walked away. Jody didn't recognize the killer, but she was able to provide a description to the police. She said that he was a white male in his 30s. Berkowitz was actually 22 at the time, but maybe he looked older, with a fair complexion, stood around 5'8", and weighed about 200 pounds. She said that his hair was short, dark, and curly. This description was repeated by Donna's dad, who had seen a man sitting in a yellow car that was parked nearby. The neighbours also gave corroborating reports to the police, claiming to have seen a yellow car cruising the area for a couple of hours before the shooting took place. So he's looking for someone. Donna was only 18 when she left home with her best friend and neighbour. They were hoping that a night out would cheer her up after her uncle had passed away a couple of days before. She spent most of her time working as a medical technician at the Empire State Ambulance Service. Jody was looking for an exciting night at a disco with her best friend. At 19 years old, she was setting up for her life with dreams of becoming an EMT. Following this attack, she kept a low profile until she spoke with the New York Post in 2016. Poor girls. She said that it took about 6 years before she was able to get into a car at night, and it took a really long time to be able to deal with the sounds of popping fireworks and similar sounds like banging. But she faced her fears and she got on with her life. On the 23rd of October 1976, a similar shooting occurred in a secluded residential area of Flushing, Queens. 20-year-old Carl Inaro and 18-year-old Rosemary Keenan were sitting in Rosemary's car. So the car's parked up, they're sitting in it, and then all of a sudden the windows shattered. Somebody had shot at the car. Rosemary, she quickly drove away. She needed to find help. But Carl, he was bleeding from a bullet wound to his head. This would need a metal plate inserted to replace a portion of his skull. He lost the vision in one eye, but he survived this attack, and he was sent home after 3 weeks in the hospital. Rosemary had superficial injuries from the broken glass, and she made a full recovery. Neither of them saw their attacker. Police determined that the bullets embedded in Rosemary's car were .44 caliber, but they were too deformed to be able to make a match of a particular weapon. It's believed that Carl's shoulder-length hair made the shooter mistake him for a woman, and police held an intense investigation since Rosemary's dad was a 20-year veteran detective with the New York Police Department. But despite the intensity of the search, the randomness of this attack, the police, they couldn't find any leads, and they didn't link the two attacks, partially because they were being investigated by different police precincts. October 23rd was meant to be a night of celebration and farewells for Carl, who planned on enlisting into the US Air Force the following week. And at some point, while at a bar with a friend, Carl spotted Rosemary, a former classmate, on the dance floor. They began to chat, and hours later, they were still deep in conversation. They were really enjoying each other's company, and by this stage, Carl's friends had left. It was 2:30 a.m. when the pair got into Rosemary's car, and they took a drive. Sadly, after the attack, Carl found out that his injuries disqualified him from enlisting in the military. While Rosemary lived a low-profile life following this attack, Carl would co-write the book The Son of Sam and Me, The Truth About Why I Wasn't Shot by David Berkowitz. In the book, he reveals why he believes that David wasn't the only person involved in the shootings and that they were carefully organized attacks by a satanic cult. Yeah. So then on the 27th of November 1976, 16-year-old Donna DeMasi and her best friend, 18-year-old Joanne Lomino, were walking home shortly after midnight. They'd just been to the movies and they were having a chat on the porch of Joanne's house. So this was in Floral Park. And then all of a sudden a man shows up. He was dressed in military clothing and he's walking towards them. He asked them for directions, and then he pulled out a gun and he shot each girl once. He continued shooting several more times, but missed Donna and Joanne as they fell to the ground. They were wounded from these bullets. The bullets that missed them hit the house, and the shooter fled. A neighbor had heard the gunshots and rushed out of the house. He said that the man was blonde and he was running and gripping a pistol in his left hand. Donna was shot in the neck, but the wound was not life-threatening, and she was released from hospital after 3 weeks. Joanne was hit in the back, and she was hospitalized in critical condition. But she fought, and she survived, but sadly she was left paraplegic. Donna was described as a popular student at school, and she had been studying in her bedroom when her best friend called her. They were talking for a while, and then they decided that they were going to go out and watch a movie, and then afterwards they were going to get dinner. Joanne had just graduated from high school the year before, and she was living with her parents, which was a few blocks from Donna's house. She was saving up money. She wanted to get her own place. She wanted to move out of her parents' place and start her life. On the 30th of January 1977, 26-year-old Christine Fruand and 30-year-old fiancé John Deal were sitting in John's car. They were near the Forest Hills LIRR stations in Queens, debating if they should go for a drive to a dance hall. It was around 12:40 a.m. when 3 gunshots penetrated the car. John drove away fast. He needed to get help. He sustained minor superficial injuries, but sadly, Christine was shot twice and she passed away several hours later in hospital. Neither had seen the attacker. John was a bartender at a local restaurant near Christine's house. They wanted to watch a recently released movie. This was Rocky. I'm sure we've all seen Rocky. Good movie. They both loved the movie, and they went to a nearby wine gallery. Christine would never know that John had been saving up his money to buy her an engagement ring. He had the engagement ring and he planned to propose to her on Valentine's Day. Christine was from Austria and was described as kind, ambitious, and hardworking. She had begun working at Reynolds Securities in Manhattan after 9 months of working as a bilingual secretary in Austria. Police made the first public acknowledgement that this shooting was similar to earlier incidents and that it is possible that the crimes might be connected. They revealed that all the victims were struck with a .44 caliber bullet, and the shootings seemed to target young women with long dark hair. So composite sketches were made of the black-haired man from the first shooting and the blonde man from the previous shooting. They were looking for multiple suspects. On the 8th of March 1977, at around 7:30 p.m., 19-year-old Virginia, I'm going to struggle to say this last name, Virginia Voskerichian, was walking home from the Continental Avenue subway station when an armed man confronted her. She lived around a block from where Christine and John were attacked. Virginia, in a desperate act to defend herself, she lifted up her textbooks as a shield, and then she was shot at. The bullet went straight through her books and struck her in the head. Sadly, she died. At 19 years old, Virginia was paving a path towards the all-American dream her family had been chasing when they immigrated from Bulgaria in 1968. She was described as a dedicated student who took her studies really seriously, and she could speak 5 languages. She was a full-time student, but she was also working part-time at JFK Airport in one of the duty-free shops. So sad. On the 10th of March 1977, a press conference was held by NYPD officials and Mayor Abraham Beame. They declared the same .44 Bulldog revolver had fired the shots that killed Donna and Virginia. Official documents later revealed that police strongly suspected that the same weapon had been used in the shootings, but the evidence to prove it was inconclusive. The series of crimes was discussed by the local media virtually every day, and it soon spread nationally before it went international. It was front page news everywhere. On the 17th of April 1977, at around 3 a.m., 20-year-old Alexander Esau and 18-year-old Valentina Suriani were sitting in Alexander's brother's car. They were on the Hutchinson River Parkway service road in the Bronx. Excuse me. Here we go. This was about a block away from Valentina's house. A resident of a nearby building called the police after they heard 4 shots. Valentina was found sitting in the driver's seat with a single bullet wound to her head. She was deceased at the scene. Alexander was found in the passenger seat. He was shot twice in the head, and he was barely clinging on to life. Sadly, he passed away several hours later in the hospital. He tried to fight. It was too much. Police said that the weapon used for these killings was the same as the one suspected in the previous shootings. Alexander was described as a responsible, well-mannered young man who graduated from Brooklyn Technical High School, where he studied architecture and was working as a tow truck operator at the time of his death. At around 9 p.m., Alexander picked up his girlfriend, Valentina, to go and see a movie. The couple were expected back for 3 a.m., which was Valentina's curfew. Friends and neighbors described Valentina as a friendly, vivacious, and studious young woman. She attended classes at Lehman College, majoring in acting, and she planned to take a leave of absence to study at the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan. At the scene, police discovered a handwritten letter, mostly written in block capitals with a few lowercase letters, addressed to NYPD Captain Joseph Borelli. It is in this letter that the name Son of Sam was first used, and while it was initially withheld from the public, the police did decide that they would release selected parts to the press. So I'm going to read it. The letter said, I am deeply hurt by your calling me a woman hater. I am not, but I am a monster. I am the son of Sam. I am a little brat. When Father Sam gets drunk, he gets mean. He beats his family. Sometimes he ties me up to the back of the house. Other times he locks me in the garage. Sam loves to drink blood. Go out and kill, commands Father Sam. Behind our house some rest, mostly young, are worded and slaughtered, their bodies drained, just bones now. Papa Sam keeps me locked in the attic too. I can't get out, but I look out the attic window and watch the world go by. I feel like an outsider. I am on a different wavelength than everybody else. Programmed to kill. However, to stop me, you must kill me. Attention all police. Shoot me first. Shoot to kill or else. Keep out of my way or you will die. Papa Sam is old now. He needs some blood to preserve his youth. He has had too many heart attacks. Too many heart attacks. Ah, me hoot it hurts, sonny boy. I miss my pretty princess most of all. She's resting in Our Lady's house, but I'll soon see her. I am the monster. I love to hunt, prowling the streets, looking for fair game, tasty meat. The women of Queens are prettiest of all. I must be the water they drink. I live for the hunt, my life. Blood of Papa, Mr. Borelli, sir, I don't want to kill any more. I love people. I don't belong on earth. Return me. To the people of Queens, I love you, and I want to wish you all a happy Easter. May God bless you, this life and in the next. And for now, I say goodbye and good night. Police, let me haunt you with these words. I'll be back. I'll be back. To be interpreted as bang, 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 bang. Ah, yours in murder, Mr. Monster. So the police suspected that the writer was familiar with Scottish English because of the phrases me hoot it hurts, sonny boy, which is a Scottish version of my heart it hurts, sonny boy. Yeah. So police also theorized that the shooter blamed a dark-haired nurse for her father's death due to the too many heart attacks, because Donna Laurie was a medical technician and Judy Valenti was studying to be a nurse. Yeah. On the 30th of May 1977, a Daily News columnist received a handwritten letter from someone claiming to be the .44 caliber killer. So the name given to David before he was known as the son of Sam. It was postmarked earlier that same day in Eaglewood, New Jersey. So on the reverse of the envelope, neatly printed in the center, were 4 lines. They said blood and family, darkness and death, absolute depravity, and .44. I'm going to read another letter. Here we go. Hello from the gutters of New York City, which are filled with dog manure, vomit, stale wine, urine, and blood. Hello from the sewers of New York City, which swallow up these delicious, when they are washed away by the sweeper trucks. He's really bad at grammar. Hello from the cracks in the sidewalks of New York City, and from the ants that dwell in these cracks and feed in the dried blood of the dead that has settled into the cracks. JB, I'm just dropping you a line to let you know that I appreciate your interest in those recent and horrendous .44 killings. I also want to tell you that I read your column daily and I find it quite informative. Tell me, Jim, what will you have for July 29th? You can forget about me if you like, because I don't care for publicity. However, you must not forget Donna Laurie, and you cannot let the people forget her either. She was a very, very sweet girl, but Sam's a thirsty lad and he won't let me stop killing until he gets his fill of blood. Mr. Breslin, sir, don't think that because you haven't heard from me for a while that I went to sleep. No, rather I am still here, like a spirit roaming the night, thirsty, hungry, seldom stopping to rest, anxious to please Sam. I love my work. Now the void has been filled. Perhaps we shall meet face to face someday, or perhaps I will be blown away by the police, smoking .38s. Whatever, if I shall be fortunate enough to meet you, I will tell you all about Sam if you like. His name is Sam the Terrible. Not knowing what the future holds, I shall say farewell and I will see you at the next job. Or should I say you will see my handiwork at the next job. Remember this. Laurie, thank you. in their blood and from the gutter. Sam Creation, point 44, here are some names to help you along. Forward them to Inspector for use. The Duke of Death, the Wicked King Wicker, the 22 disciples. I'm not going to read that word. There's some words I can't say. So he's just going through a list of names he wants to be called by. Please inform all the detectives working the case that I wish them the best of luck. Keep them digging. Drive on. Think positive. Get off your butts. Knock the coffins, etc. Upon my capture, I promise to buy all the guys working the case a new pair of shoes, if I can get the money. Son of Sam. So underneath the Son of Sam was a logo, or like a sketch, that combined several symbols. The receiver notified the police, who thought that the letter was from someone with knowledge of the shootings, obviously. The letter was described as sophisticated in its wordings and presentation, especially compared to the first one. These letters are hard to read, man, because his grammar is so bad. The police suspected the second letter was created in an art studio by someone with expertise in printing or graphic design. So Daily News, with permission from the police, who selected portions of text to withhold, released the letter and urged the killer to surrender to the police. So following the letters, police received thousands of tips, all of which were sadly useless. Around this point, thousands of women in New York City had their hair cut and dyed all sorts of colors. Beauty supply stores also had trouble meeting the demands for wigs because people didn't want to have brunette hair, long brunette hair. On the 26th of June, 20-year-old Salvatore Lupo and 17-year-old Judy Placido were sitting in Salvatore's car. It was about 3 a.m. when 3 bullets blasted through the vehicle. Salvatore was hit in the right forearm, but luckily he recovered from his injuries. Judy was shot in the right temple, shoulder, and the back of her neck. But she survived. She is a fighter. Salvatore told the police that they had been discussing the Son of Sam case when they were shot. So that's a bit crazy. Neither witnessed their attacker, but 2 witnesses nearby reported that they saw a tall, dark-haired man in a suit fleeing from the area. One had claimed to see him leave in a car and supplied a partial license plate number. Early on the same morning, 20-year-old Stacy Moskowitz and 20-year-old Robert Violante were sitting in Robert's car. They were parked under a streetlight near a city park in Bath Beach. They were on their first date. They were having a kiss when a man rocks up. He comes within 3 feet of the passenger window and he shoots at them 4 rounds through the window before running away into the park. Both of them were struck in the head. Stacy was the only blonde victim of David Berkowitz, and sadly she died from her injuries. Robert, he lost his eye, his left eye, but he survived. Stacy was one of 3 siblings, and she was described as happy, bubbly. She was a vivacious young woman who was beautiful inside as well as outside. She was extremely cautious because of the Son of Sam killings, but would constantly reassure her mum that the killer was targeting brunettes, not blondes. So she felt, somewhat safe. Robert, he felt his luck was turning around as the clothing salesman had recently been signed to a modeling agency. So he was a really good looking guy. He went on a trip to Beefsteak Charlie's to celebrate what should have been a lucrative career, and that's where he met Stacy. They instantly hit it off and they talked for hours. Then they made plans to meet up again. Sadly, he never married after this attack, and he always questioned what could have been if Stacy had survived. He worked for 35 years as a mail carrier for the US Postal Service. On the night of the final attack, a local resident was walking her dog at the scene of the last shooting when she saw a patrol officer ticketing a car that was parked near a fire hydrant. Then Moments later, a young man walked by her from an area of the car, and he seemed to be really observing her. The woman saw that this man was holding some kind of dark object in his hand. She felt scared, so she decided that she was just going to run. She was going to get out of there with her dog, but then she heard shots firing from behind her. She remained silent about this experience for 4 days, but then she finally contacted the police. So the police went on to check every car that was ticketed in the area from that night, and David Berkowitz's yellow 1970 Ford Galaxy was actually among the vehicles that they investigated. On the 10th of August, the police found David Berkowitz's car parked outside his apartment building, and in plain sight on the back seat was a gun. They searched the vehicle and found a duffel bag that was filled with ammunition and maps of the previous crime scenes and a threatening letter that was addressed to Inspector Timothy Dowd of the Son of Sam Task Force. So the team decided that they were going to wait for David to come out of his apartment building to avoid a potentially violent confrontation within the confines of, these small hallways. So they're waiting for David. They decided that they were going to obtain a search warrant for his apartment because they were worried that their search could be challenged in court if they didn't get this warrant. But the warrant still hadn't arrived, and David actually came out of his apartment building at around 10 p.m. and he walked over to his car. He got in his car. Then, while David's sitting in his car, about to leave, Detective John Falatico approached the driver's side, and he pointed a gun close to David's face, like by his temple, while Detective Sergeant William Gardella aimed his weapon from the other side at David. So a brown paper bag containing a bulldog revolver was found inside David's car, and later ballistics testing discovered it was a .44 caliber. It's reported that David Berkowitz said, "Well, you got me," with a big smile on his face. Prick. When the police searched his apartment, they first noticed that the walls were covered in satanic graffiti. Yeah, it didn't look so great. There were also notebooks, all of which were nearly full of meticulous notes about fires that he claimed to have set throughout New York City. The following day, the 11th, David Berkowitz was interrogated for about 30 minutes in the early hours of the morning. So he didn't lie. He confessed to the shootings, and he expressed interest in pleading guilty. So in this interrogation, he told the story about his neighbor's possessed dog, Harvey, a black Labrador who lived with his neighbor whose name was Sam Carr. He said that an ancient demon possessed Harvey and would issue irresistible demands that David get the blood of pretty young girls. Yeah. 3 mental health examinations were performed, and they all found him competent to stand trial. Yeah, they reckon that he was just making up that story to make himself look crazy so he could, yeah. Defense lawyers advised David to plead not guilty by reason of insanity, but he refused, and on May the 8th, 1978, he pleaded guilty to all of the shootings. 2 weeks later, David attempted to jump from the 7th floor window in the courtroom, but luckily the officers stopped him, and after he was restrained, he repeatedly chanted, "Stacy was a whore." And also, "I'd kill her again. I'd kill them all again." What a dick. On June 12th, 1978, David Berkowitz was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for the murder, and these sentences were set to be served consecutively. Despite prosecutors' objections, the terms of David's guilty plea made him eligible for parole after 25 years. I know. But he has so far been denied every hearing, and he actually has another hearing this year in May. He is still alive, and he is in prison where he should be. So hopefully he stays there. But yeah, so May this year, let's see what happens. Hopefully they're smart enough to keep this monster locked up. We do not need him out. Well, I don't live in America, but you guys that are in America, you do not need him out. He is a bad, bad man. Bad man. Bad. Okay, so what do you guys think of that story? It is some pretty horrific stuff, right? Like, I know there's a lot of there's quite a bit around the story. Like, people say that it wasn't just David Berkowitz. It was like he was a part of a cult, and it's like a satanic cult, and that they, you know, a bunch of them were going around doing these crimes. That's why one person saw a blonde man, and that's why another person saw a dark-haired man. So I don't know. What do you guys reckon? Do you think David did all of it, or do you think David was a part of a cult? What do you guys think? I should have added that part. But yeah, if you want me to go more in depth with the Son of Sam case, let me know and I'll add things. But it was more for the timing, because that would have been like the full David Berkowitz story, man. That would have gone on for like 3 parts. I've got it written, but I just have to find the time to film all of it. It takes a long time. So let me know, do you guys want me to really do a deep dive on this one, or have you heard enough about the Son of Sam, David Berkowitz, from other YouTube channels? Let me know what you guys want me to do. Do you have any case suggestions? I am always interested in what you guys would like me to talk about. Yeah, let me know, talk to me. Okay, so that is me for today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful morning, day, night, or whatever it is where you are. I am wearing my Rolling Stones t-shirt, and it is actually a t-shirt I wear to bed. So I was just like, so much of my stuff is in the laundry. So I was like, okay, Rolling Stones t-shirt it is. Cool. Yeah. This is me most of the time, like band t-shirts, or like, but sometimes when I film, I like to make myself look a little bit nicer. Anyway, that's me for the day, guys. Have a great day, morning, night, blah, 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 whatever it is where you are. Let me know what case suggestions you have. Bye.